Chapter 6196. Cough, cough, Jun Hongqing fell into the deep pit. The sharp pain in his body and the blood that seeped out of his mouth made him cough uncontrollably. He coughed up blood clots. Up until now, although he had attacked Diyujue, the latter's strength was stronger than his, and his injuries were much more serious. Jun Hongqing, go to hell! Diyujue's eyes were extremely cold, and a murderous intent spread from his heart. After waiting for so long, this day had finally come. He would definitely not show mercy. Seeing Diyujue's fist rapidly approaching, Jun Hongqing's pupils shrank, and he subconsciously prepared to run away. However, right at the instant that he fled, Diyujue's fist struck out once more, and it directly blasted Jun Hongqing's figure out of the deep pit. After being hit by Diyujue's all-out attack again, Jun Hongqing spat out a mouthful of blood. His face instantly turned pale, and his aura quickly withered. Family head! The cultivators of the Jun family exclaimed when they saw that Jun Hongqing was injured, and their eyes were full of anxiety. Diyujue Jun Hongqing looked at Diyujue, who was walking toward him step by step, and his face was full of horror. However, Diyujue's expression was extremely cold, and he did not pay attention to him at all. The fist came again, and Jun Hongqing quickly moved backward, but this speed was useless. Bang! A tyrannical force burst out. Jun Hongqing closed his eyes. He knew that he could not escape, but the expected pain did not appear. He opened his eyes and found that the Great Elder was in front of him. Great Elder! Jun Hongqing's pupils shrank, and he looked at Jun Xianshao nervously. Jun Xianshao stood in front of Jun Hongqing at the last moment. He was so anxious that he didn't have time to defend himself. He could only take the blow head-on. Family head, it's my fault. Jun Xuanshao's eyes were red, and he looked at Jun Hongqing apologetically. He was the one who made many mistakes in the past. If he had not been so narrow-minded, many things would not have developed to this point. Jun Hongqing's eyes were also red. In the entire family, the Great Elder was the one who had the best relationship with him. He never thought that one day they would fall into such a situation. Diyujue looked at the two people in front of him, but there was no sympathy in his eyes. These two heinous sinners should have died long ago. Chi! A sharp sword directly into Jun Xuanxiao's body. Jun Xuanxiao's body twitched, and his face showed extreme pain. However, he soon lost consciousness. Jun Xianshao is dead. You're next. Diyujue looked at Jun Hongqing, his eyes as cold as ice. Jun Hongqing stared at Diyujue, his eyes full of unwillingness. Diyujue, I admit that I have lost this time. However, a temporary victory does not mean that it will last forever. As long as the bloodline of the Jun family still exists in this world, sooner or later, the entire D family will be destroyed. Hearing this, Diyujue chuckled. I know that you have already sent people to take some of the young cultivators of the family away. However, do you think that I don't know about these arrangements? As soon as he said this, Jun Hongqing was slightly stunned. His calm face suddenly changed. What did you do to them? Chapter 6197. As Diyujue's voice fell, Jun Hongqing's face instantly turned pale. It was as if someone had taken away his last life-saving straw. He lost his mental support and became helpless and desperate. You found them? Jun Hongqing couldn't believe it. He didn't want to believe it. After sensing that such a dangerous situation would happen, he had already planned to let some cultivators with potential leave. Even if the Jun family was finished, as long as the bloodline was still there, they might be able to recover after many years. This kind of thing had happened in the upper realm before. However, he didn't expect that Diyujue would be able to find them. I've been fighting with you for so many years. If I didn't have some understanding of your tricks, then I'd be too stupid. Diyujue chuckled and said. From the moment he decided to deal with the Jun family, he had the idea of catching them all in one fell swoop. How could he let the Jun family keep any cultivators with potential? Just like how Jun Hongqing worked hard to prepare for all of this, he also worked hard to make plans for the Di family. Jun Hongqing stared at Di Yujue in a daze. He was surrounded by a thick sense of despair. He had become the sinner of the Jun family. How was he going to face the ancestors of the Jun family in the underworld now? If you kill me, you'll never find the secret inheritance key. I don't need it anymore. Di Yujue's expression was indifferent. The sharp sword in his hand suddenly pierced out. Chi. The sharp sword pierced Jun Hongqing's heart. Without showing any mercy, Di Yujue increased the strength in his hand and directly pierced Jun Hongqing's body. With this sword, he was avenging Beichen and the many cultivators of the Di family who had fallen. From today onwards, the Jun family would be completely removed from the upper realm. Family head. The moment they saw Jun Hongqing fall, all the cultivators of the Jun family shouted at the top of their lungs with red eyes. The head of the family had always been the pillar of the family. Now that this pillar had collapsed, the entire Jun family would no longer exist. When Xiao Yanlong saw Jun Hongqing fall, a trace of sorrow appeared in his eyes. This scene still happened in the end, and it happened in such a way that it made people feel so uncomfortable. Compared to the pain of the Jun family's cultivators, the cultivators of the Di family and the Lin family were cheering, their faces full of excitement. Kill. Charge. The Di family's morale was high. Their skeleton army acted as the vanguard, killing anyone who stood in their way. No one could stop them. With the death of Jun Hongqing and Jun Xianxiao, Di Linxian had no more opponent. With his strength, it was easy for him to deal with ordinary cultivators. Within a short period of time, the cultivators of the Jun family and the Xiao family were utterly defeated. That day was soaked in blood. The entire Jun family was in a terrible situation, and blood flowed like a river. The tragic atmosphere spread. Two great families with infinite glory declined just like that, and were completely removed from the upper realm. From now on, everyone would only remember that there had been two great families like this, but they had completely disappeared overnight. Di Yujue was also very tolerant of the cultivators who came to participate in the battle. As a reward, all the cultivators who found treasures would belong to them. These treasures were their spoils of war. All the cultivators couldn't help but cheer when they heard this. As a great family, the Jun family was extremely rich in both cultivation resources and wealth. Chapter 6198. Not only the cultivators from the Di family and Lin family, but many cultivators from the Dark Sanctuary were also in the same situation. The group of dark cultivators were initially a little embarrassed, but after seeing Di Beichen nod his head in agreement, everyone's face was filled with joy. To them, who were mostly grassroots, these cultivation resources were simply too important. After the battle ended, Di Yujue and the rest did not stop. Although the Jun family and the Xiao family's troops had been dealt with, they still needed to make a trip to the Piercing Wind City. "Father, I'll go with you." After knowing Di Yujue's plan, Di Beichen immediately followed. After leaving a small group of cultivators to collect the spoils of war in the Jun family, the rest of the cultivators all headed to the Piercing Wind City. That place was also filled with treasures. The cultivators of Yang City watched as Di Yujue and his group left in a grandiose manner. The thick smell of blood mixed with surging killing intent spread out from their bodies. Their cold eyes made people not dare to look at them directly. The Jun family and Xiao family are completely finished this time. From now on, they will be removed from the upper realm. The rise of the Di clan is simply too fast. Right now, there's no one who can stop them. A starving camel is still bigger than a horse. The Jun family has a lot of treasures. I'm really envious just looking at them. What's the use of being envious? We have to wait until the Di family's troops have all left before we can go and see if there are any treasures that we have missed. If we run in now, we will definitely die. Everyone looked at each other and sighed in their hearts. Now, whoever dared to offend the D family would be seeking their own death. I'm really envious of the dark cultivators now. A cultivator sighed faintly, causing everyone to feel the same way. In the past, the dark cultivators were despised by everyone. But now, with the support of the D family, Di Baichen and Bailey Hongzhuang working together, the dark cultivators' prestige was much higher than other cultivators. Piercing Wind City. When Di Baichen and his entourage arrived, everyone in the Piercing Wind City was instantly attracted to them. There was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. After the cultivators of the Shao clan poured out, everyone understood what was going to happen. When everyone saw the D family's team appear here, they understood the result. Most importantly, the thick smell of blood wafted in the air. It had already spread from the moment they appeared, and there was no way to hide it. Even though everyone knew that the D family now had the upper hand, they still found it hard to believe that the Shao family and the Jun family would be wiped out just like that. Is the Shao family really going to be finished? In my opinion, it's most likely over. In just a few years, the two families have changed so much. The Shao family. After Bailey Hongzhuang threw out 2 sets of explosives, the door of the Shao family was directly blown open. The Shao family only left a small number of cultivators in the family. After hearing the commotion outside the door, the remaining cultivators shuddered as their faces turned pale and ugly. They had been living in torment for the entire day because they could not see the situation in the Jun family. They could only passively wait for the result. This feeling was really devastating. After seeing the D family's team, everyone's heart thumped as they had already expected this cruel reality. Chapter 6199. Following Di Yujue's words, the cultivators from the D family immediately charged forward. The remaining cultivators from the Shao family had panicked when they saw the D family's team appear. Furthermore, the remaining cultivators were not strong cultivators in the first place. All the strong cultivators had already gone to the Jun family's residence. Therefore, under such circumstances, it was too easy for everyone to deal with this. In the blink of an eye, the cultivators had easily dealt with this matter. What was left was for everyone to search for the spoils of war. Bailey Hongzhuang was not in a hurry to search. She did not care about the spoils of war the most. What she cared about was the whereabouts of the secret inheritance key. Baichen, do you think it's possible that the secret inheritance key is still here? Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at Di Baichen. The world was so big, they could not determine where Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongqing had hidden the secret inheritance key. Perhaps they felt that the most dangerous place was the safest place, so they hid the secret inheritance key in an inconspicuous corner of their respective family. Or perhaps they had decided to make the secret inheritance key disappear, so they threw it in a place that no one would expect. Di Baichen had a thoughtful look on his face. No one can understand the thoughts of these 2 old foxes, but we can look for it. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Now that Jun Hongqing and Xiao Yanlong were both dead, no one knew where the secret inheritance key was. Looking for it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. However, they would not give up until they tried. Di Yujue looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen's serious expressions, and a smile appeared on his face. These 2 little fellows really did not have any utilitarian thoughts, and had always been thinking for their family. It was really rare. For 3 consecutive days, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen searched around the Shao family's residence. Bai Li Yanche and the others were also helping to search. Their spiritual energy penetrated the ground, unwilling to let go of any possibility. However, no one gained anything. In my opinion, Xiao Yanlong and the others are so cunning, I'm afraid that they have hidden the secret key very far away. Shangguan Yingying frowned. Although the Di family could give up on the land of heritage, they all knew how beneficial it would be to the Di family. If he were to give up just like that, he would be somewhat unwilling. These 2 old fellows are really annoying, but we can't do anything about it. When Xiren sighed. It wasn't just the Shao family. Many cultivators from the Jun family were also searching. No one was willing to give up. For 7 whole days, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others turned the Shao residence upside down but still couldn't find the secret key. They could only choose to give up and embark on their return journey. The Piercing Wind City was the place where the headquarters of the Radiant Sacred Assembly was located. It was also the city closest to the Shao family. This once bustling place gradually became desolate following the fall of the Shao clan. Many cultivators left one after another, and even some businessmen chose to go to other places. The Piercing Wind City gradually became a dead city. Junyang City was also in the same situation, but this was a story for later. After returning to the D family, the entire family began to celebrate. This time, they had achieved a complete victory. Chapter 6200. In the D family's meeting hall, the heads of the D family and the Lin family, as well as the various elders and even the outstanding younger generation, were all gathered here at this moment. The atmosphere was different from the usual. At this moment, the entire meeting hall was filled with laughter. Everyone's expressions were relaxed and they were in a good mood. For so many years, because they were constantly on guard against the other party's tricks, everyone's hearts had always been like a rock hanging in the air. Now that the rock had been put down, their mood was unprecedentedly relaxed. Although we won a great victory this time, we still missed a problem. After everyone's laughter, Diujue's voice rang out. Hearing this, everyone turned their eyes and looked at Diujue in confusion. Now, other than not being able to find the secret key to the land of inheritance, what other problem did they miss? The Jun family and the Shao family both sent out their cultivators with potential at the first moment. Although I had already sent people to stop them at the first moment, and the Jun family's team was indeed destroyed, there were still people from the Shao family who escaped. Was it Xiao So? Xiao So's figure instantly appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's mind. This woman had fought with her for so long, but she had to admit that she was also a person with great luck. Diujue nodded. Not only Xiao So but also Xiao Sudong. Everyone frowned slightly. Everyone was disgusted with Xiao So from the bottom of their hearts. This woman was a troublemaker. No matter where she was, she could always cause some trouble. If it wasn't for Xiao So, their relationship with the Shao family would not have fallen to such a state. If I'm not wrong, Xiao So and Xiao Sudong were most likely taken away by Shu Yu, right? Di Linxuan's eyes were deep, and no emotions could be seen on his calm face. This time, in order to eliminate the root of the problem, the team they sent out this time was not weak. Under such circumstances, the other party could still escape. Other than Shu Yu, there was probably no one else who could do it. That's right, it was done by Shu Yu. Diujue's eyes turned gloomy. As Xiao So's master, it's not strange for Shu Yu to take action when Xiao So is threatened. However, with Shu Yu's protection, it will be very difficult for us to deal with them. Shu Yu, the #1 expert of the upper realm. Although the D family's current strength was not to be underestimated, if they were to face Shu Yu directly, they would definitely suffer great losses. Let's not rush into this matter for now. Shu Yu only chose to protect Xiao So and the others and did not directly fight with us. This proves that he is somewhat wary of us. From another point of view, this is also a sign that he is not willing to be our enemy. If we take the initiative to look for trouble under such circumstances, I'm afraid we'll directly anger him. Di Linxuan's expression was solemn. Although a cultivator's strength was not very useful, when a cultivator's strength reached a certain level, their influence would not be small. As long as Shu Yu was willing to join a force, it was likely that the other party would be willing to offend them for the sake of such an expert. Although the D family and the Lin family had won the battle, they had also suffered great losses. It would take some time for them to recover. Sigh, I never thought that Shu Yu would protect them so much. The great elder sighed. This caused them to feel a trace of regret in their hearts. Based on Xiao Sou's personality, we'll meet again sooner or later. Chapter 6201. Xiao Sou would definitely not remain calm after knowing that her family had fallen into such a situation. Even if she did not have the strength to contend against them, she would not sit still and do nothing. It was only a matter of time before they clashed. When Dyujua saw that everyone's mood was affected by this matter, he could not help but smile and said, "The reason why I mention this matter is to remind everyone. However, you don't have to take it to heart. Only 2 people from the Xiao family are left. They are not a threat to us." Everyone nodded and a smile appeared on their faces once again. Suddenly, Lin Wenlan's gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. His gaze was filled with cordiality and curiosity. "Hong Zhuang, I saw that the explosives you used a few days ago were quite powerful. Did you make them yourself?" "That's right. The explosives are indeed very powerful. The explosives I have seen on a daily basis are not as powerful as this." Di Linxian also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang curiously. At that time, he wanted to wait until this matter was over before asking Hong Zhuang about the explosive. When young cultivators went out to gain experience, their safety was always a concern. However, the price of having a trump card for them was too high. It was impossible to popularize it. If there was a method to make explosives, the cost should not be high. Moreover, everyone could bring a few with them. Who knows, it might be effective. Seeing the 2 family heads asking about this matter at the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly stunned. She immediately smiled and said, "That's right. I made these explosives myself." "I didn't expect you to have some research in this area." Lin Wenlan had an interested look on his face. He realized that Hong Zhuang was really involved in many aspects. "Actually, these explosives have always been researched by my master's wife. If grandfather and maternal grandfather are interested, I can ask my master's wife to talk about it." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and said. When Nangong Wu heard everyone mention explosives, she was very interested. One must know that she had always liked to research these things. Later, when Hong Zhuang came to Limitless Palace, the 2 of them researched together. However, under Bailey Hongzhuang's research, the power of the explosives became even stronger. Although she had spent most of her time on cultivation after coming to the upper realm, she would still study it from time to time in her free time. She did not expect Hong Zhuang to suddenly change the topic to her. "Your teacher's wife?" Lin Wenlan raised her eyebrows and asked in surprise. "That's right." Bailey Hongzhuang stood up and walked to Nangong Wu's side. "My master's wife has always been very interested in the study of explosive. The reason why I dabbled in explosives is because I learned from her." "So it's Miss Nangong." Dyujua smiled. Nangong Wu felt a little uneasy when she was suddenly stared at by so many people. "Hong Zhuang is more accomplished in this area than I am." "Master's wife, you are too modest." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. She had already vaguely guessed the thoughts of the 2 family heads. This task was undoubtedly the most suitable one for her. "Miss Nangong, we feel that the power of these explosives is not bad. If we can make more of them and give them to the younger cultivators, they will have more protection when they go out to train. I wonder if Miss Nangong can help us with this?" Di Linxian asked gently. Chapter 6202. Although this matter came unexpectedly, Nangong Wu, who had a cheerful personality, quickly accepted it after a short period of restraint. "Don't worry, leave this matter to me." Nangong Wu was full of smiles. She was most interested in the matter of explosives. In fact, she had been itching to do this for a while, but because she was in the D family, she was too embarrassed to do this research, and she didn't have a place to test it. Now that this task was handed over to her, she couldn't be happier. Yu Linfeng looked at Nangong Wu's happy appearance, and his eyes were full of love. In the past, when they were in the Limitless Palace, Nangong Wu had always been free to do whatever she wanted. Now, it was very rare for her to be able to cultivate quietly in the D family for so long. Seeing Nangong Wu agree so readily, the smiles of Di Linxian and the others became more and more brilliant. Miss Nangong is really straightforward. Then, we'll have to trouble you. It's no trouble, no trouble. Nangong Wu waved her hand. Since I came to the Di family, I've always been indebted to you for taking care of me. I can't do much, so I'm very happy to be able to help out a little. By the way, other than these explosives, I made a little toy myself. Maybe it will be helpful to the cultivators in our family. At this time, Di Beichen's magnetic and pleasant voice sounded. Hearing this voice, everyone turned their heads and looked at Di Beichen in confusion. Young master, what did you do? All the elders had curious looks on their faces, and their eyes were filled with deep satisfaction and joy. Now, facing this young master, they could only trust him from the bottom of their hearts. What do you think of the formation I set up that day? Di Beichen raised his eyebrows slightly, and a mysterious smile appeared on his unparalleled face. Everyone was stunned, and they thought of the formation Di Beichen used on the day when the Dark Sacred Assembly was established. It was because of that trap formation that blocked a group of cultivators, giving Di Beichen the opportunity to use the summoning technique. You mean that trap formation? Di Yujue's eyes lit up. Di Beichen nodded slightly. The trap formation is very useful. If it can be used on a normal day, it will be of great help to cultivators. It's just that it's not easy to learn formations, and not every cultivator has talent in this area. Di Yujue's face revealed a thoughtful look. It would be good if they could master the formation, but it was not realistic to let everyone learn it. After all, many people did not have enough energy. They did not have the time to study other things other than cultivation. Father, take a look at this. Looked Nangong of Nangong Yu. Nangong Nong Nangong Di Yujue took the jade. It was a very simple piece of jade. It didn't even have any carvings on it. It didn't look special at all. However, after sensing it carefully, Di Yujue found that there was some special power in the jade. What's in this jade? Everyone looked at the ordinary jade curiously. They all understood that Di Beichen must have his reasons for taking it out at this time. Bailey Hongzhuang also looked at Di Beichen in confusion. In fact, she also noticed that Beichen was busy fiddling with something when he was refining pills carefully. However, she didn't ask about it in detail because Beichen wasn't just studying formations, he was also studying talisman arts. Chapter 6203. Could it be that you've engraved the formation into the jade? A thought flashed through her mind, and Bailey Hongzhuang immediately guessed. She still remembered that Di Beichen had told her before that the jade could carry the power of a cultivator, just like how rune techniques also carried some special power in various runes. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Di Beichen's face suddenly revealed a smile. You're really smart. Everyone's eyes lit up. They were not unfamiliar with formations, but there weren't many formation masters. Only when constructing family formations or teleportation formations would they think of formation masters. But at the same time, no one dared to look down on formation masters, because a formation master could casually arrange a formation that could bring a lot of trouble. Cultivators of the same level would definitely not be a match for a formation master. Just like how Di Beichen trapped so many cultivators with a trap formation. To do this, there were very few people who could do it except for formation masters. Recently, I've been studying formations and rune technique. Runes are engraved with special runes to achieve a certain effect. Formations are completed through the arrangement of spatial nodes. I felt that there was some commonality between the two, so I tried my own idea. I didn't expect it to be successful. Di Beichen's lips slightly raised. After a smile appeared on his handsome face, he became even more charming. His pair of black eyes were as charming as black diamonds. His wife was so good at so many methods. As her husband, how could he not know anything? Therefore, during this period of time, he also seriously studied formations and rune technique. The reason for such progress was, on one hand, because of the books left by He Shinjun. The contents of the books were very precious and gave him a very deep understanding. On the other hand, the several seniors in the abandoned immortal forest saw that he was interested in these things and gave him a few words of advice. Although it was just a few simple words, it often made him feel enlightened. He could clearly think through the problems that he didn't understand before. Not only that, they also encouraged him to innovate. It was rare for Senior Yu to tell him so earnestly that since these things were created by cultivators, why couldn't they create something else? As long as it was theoretically possible, there was a possibility of success. He felt that these words gave him a lot of inspiration, so after this idea appeared in his mind, he began to study it. However, studying it was not an easy thing. He spent a lot of time and energy. He didn't even know how much jade was wasted. But the moment he succeeded, he felt an unprecedented satisfaction. After this success, he felt that he had some different understanding of formations and rune technique. So you're saying that there's an array formation inside this jade stone? Diuju asked. Dibachin nodded slightly. Father, you can try to activate it. Diujua looked at the jade stone in his hand and sent a wisp of mental energy into it. Immediately after, an invisible barrier appeared in front of them, directly enveloping the few elders. The few elders stretched out their hands to feel it. Sure enough, this was a simple trapping array. After testing it with their strength, they found that the trapping array was able to withstand a lot of power. Chapter 6204. However, I believe that with some more time, the power of this array will increase. Dibachin's gaze landed on the trap array. His lips curled into a smile, showing his confidence. Practice makes perfect. As long as he tried more, the effect would continue to increase. Diujua looked at Dibachin in amazement. He never thought that his son would become so multi-talented. Not only did he learn the art of arrays, he also learned the art of runes. Most importantly, he was able to combine the two together to create something like this. The power of this trap array is not weak. If it's used to escape or chase someone, it's excellent. Di Linxian's eyes were filled with satisfaction. Bachin, you're very qualified to be the young master. Grandfather, you're too kind. Di Bachin chuckled. Good lad. Di Linxian patted Di Bachin's shoulder. His face was glowing with confidence. With these explosives and arrays, the younger generation of cultivators will have more means to protect themselves. I believe that our family will become better and better in the future. Don't forget that our Lin family has a share too, Lin Wenlan said. Don't worry. How could I forget about you? Di Linxian rolled his eyes. After so many years, old Lin's stingy personality had not changed at all. Lin Wenlan looked at Di Linxian with disdain. Old man, you're the one who eats everything for yourself. Nonsense. Seeing that the two people who were so dignified just a moment ago had returned to their normal selves, the laughter in the meeting hall became even louder. The news of the Di family destroying the Jun family and the Xiao family quickly spread throughout the upper realm. No one was surprised by this news. This battle had long been within everyone's expectations. However, many people originally thought that the Di family would be the ones to lose. They never thought that after going around in circles, the Di family would rise so powerfully. Abandoned immortal forest. After the problems with the Jun family and the Xiao family were resolved, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' lives returned to normal. Everyone spent their days cultivating in the abandoned immortal forest. Under the guidance of the seniors, everyone's strength increased rapidly. The several seniors did not teach them any martial arts or powerful moves, but it was these very simple cultivation methods that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could feel the beauty of. They vaguely understood the meaning behind the seniors' words. What they pursued was not super powerful moves, but to turn every move they used on a daily basis into the strongest move. Returning to one's natural state was probably referring to this realm. Everyone had noticed this when they fought with Zhongli Mu. This was because Zhongli Mu didn't use any special moves. In fact, it looked like he was just using some simple punches and kick. However, when they were fighting, everyone felt that his every move was very difficult to deal with. That valiant strength was enough to make cultivators of the same level unable to block it. His speed was also astonishing. Regardless of whether it was the strength of his palms, arms, or legs, Zhongli Mu was practically invincible under the guidance of the seniors. Towards Zhongli Mu's valiant performance, everyone was not discouraged at all. Instead, they felt that there was more to strive for, because as long as they continued to cultivate like this, they would also reach Zhongli Mu's level in the future. Everyone has improved a lot recently. The gap between us and Zhongli Mu has narrowed a little. Chapter 6205. Isn't that so? Shangguan Yingying suddenly snickered. Yesterday, I heard from Senior Zhongli and Grandma Hua that Zhongli Mu has been cultivating even harder recently. I'm afraid he's feeling the pressure of us catching up. No wonder I feel that Senior Zhongli's attitude towards us has improved a lot recently. Bailey Hongzhuang pondered. Among all of them, Senior Zhongli was undoubtedly the coldest. Usually, other than when Zhongli Mu was around, he rarely spoke. However, it didn't mean that he didn't want to talk to them. It was just that he didn't like to talk because of his personality. During this period of time, they all noticed that Senior Zhongli had been teaching them more and more. At first, everyone was flattered. Now that they knew the reason, they completely understood. Clearly, Senior Zhongli wanted to help Zhongli Mu improve even more, so he gave them pointers. Because of the pressure, Zhongli Mu wouldn't slack off. Sure enough, grandfather's love is very deep. Di Beichen smiled faintly. Hearing that, everyone looked at each other. If Zhongli Mu knew about it, who knew how he would feel? Di Beichen, Xiao Xuanzi went to find Little Blossom again today? Bailey Hongzhuang looked around and didn't see Xiao Xuanzi. She immediately guessed that it was possible. How persistent was Xiao Xuanzi for Little Blossom? During this period of time, everyone had deeply experienced that no matter what, they would never leave the love that they had for each other. Should be. Master, Xiao Xuanzi follows Little Blossom every day and doesn't cultivate with us. Will his cultivation fall behind? Xiaobai was a little worried. Everyone had been working hard to cultivate. Only Xiao Xuanzi was busy chasing Little Blossom all day. It was fine if it was only for a short period of time. However, if it was for a long time, it would be inappropriate if his cultivation fell behind. Don't worry. Xiao Xuanzi's recent increase in strength isn't less than ours. Di Beichen smiled faintly. Xiaobai was slightly stunned. It hadn't seen Xiao Xuanzi recently, so it wasn't clear about his situation. Ziren and the others also looked at Di Beichen curiously. How could his strength increase by leaps and bounds when he didn't cultivate all day? It's because of Little Blossom. The calm voice didn't have any sympathy for Xiao Xuanzi. Di Beichen's figure flashed and began cultivating again. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and couldn't help but chuckle. Little Blossom was stronger than Little Xuanzi. Xiao Xuanzi's shameless appearance and Little Blossom's temper was unavoidable. On this day, when Di Beichen and the others were cultivating, suddenly, a series of footsteps came from the front. That teet. That. Could it be that someone is here? Shangguan Yingying's heart tightened. Zhongli Mu had mentioned before that there would be cultivators from the immortal region who would come here to look for able-bodied men. In the past, they had been very cautious. However, after cultivating here for so long, they had never met anyone. Gradually, they felt relieved. Now, they suddenly heard such unfamiliar footsteps. Could it be that something like this really happened? Chapter 6206. After coming to this conclusion, the group did not hesitate and quickly flew backwards. Even though everyone's strength had increased by quite a bit, there was still a large gap between them and cultivators from the immortal region. Once they met, they would be in danger. However, just as Di Baichen and the others were retreating, 4 figures suddenly appeared behind them. Trying to run? The man in the lead looked at Di Baichen and the others mockingly, as if he was looking at prey. I heard some movement earlier. I didn't think that there would be people here. Big brother, they don't look like people from the forsaken immortal forest. Could they be here to play? Nayland Shui looked back and forth between Di Baichen, Bai Li Yanche and Mo Yunjue. The 3 of them did not look like abandoned people from the forsaken immortal forest, regardless of their appearance, clothing, or aura. Most importantly, such a handsome man was extremely rare even in the immortal realms. Nayland Fu looked at Nayland Shui's coquettish expression and understood what she was thinking. Don't be silly, carefully sense their cultivation. They're only at the heavenly moon realm. They can't possibly be cultivators from the immortal region. As soon as he appeared, he had already checked the other party's cultivation base. After all, if they really were cultivators from the immortal region, it would not be good for them to offend them. Hearing this, Nayland Shui was stunned. After carefully sensing their cultivation, her expression turned ugly. They're indeed only at the heavenly moon realm. It seems that they really are from the forsaken immortal forest. Nayland Shui sighed, her eyes filled with regret. How great would it be if such a graceful and elegant man was someone from the immortal realm? However, their powers were simply too weak. On top of that, they were abandoned people. They would never be able to enter the immortal region in this lifetime. What a waste of her feelings. As Nayland Fu and the others were talking, another 4 figures appeared behind Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Nayland Fu, you're quite fast. You've actually surpassed us. The man smiled. From his casual attitude, one could tell that he was very familiar with Nayland Fu. How is it? Are these people the abandoned people? That's right. Nayland Fu's lips curled into a smile, revealing his white and neat teeth. Our harvest today is not bad. The hearts of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others sank. Although they did not know how strong these people were, they could tell that they were very strong from the way they spoke. If the strength of the heavenly moon realm was nothing in their eyes, then even if they took out all of their trump cards, they would still not be a match for them. What should we do? Shangguan Yingying's expression was extremely ugly. She was really unhappy when she saw these guys casually talking about them as if they were goods. However, she also understood that these people were very powerful. If she angered them now, it would not do her any good. The other party is stronger than us and they have a lot of people. We won't have the upper hand if we fight back. Di Baichen said solemnly, let's calm down and see what the other party wants to do first. They had been cultivating here recently, but the place where Zhongli Mu occasionally cultivated was a certain distance away from here. Chapter 6207. Isn't there a shortage of people at the spirit-devouring mine recently? Many of the abandoned people have been captured, and now they are looking for people everywhere. Let's send these guys over, and I think we can exchange them for some resources. Nayland Fu was beaming with joy. They were resting today, so they wanted to come to the abandoned immortal forest to play. If they could find a few abandoned people and exchange them for some money, it would be a small profit. Just now, they were competing to see who could find the abandoned people, but they didn't expect that they would find them so smoothly and quickly. They really want to capture us to mine. Mo Yunjue's eyes were hazy. When he first met Zhongli Mu, he had mentioned this point. Although Zhongli Mu didn't say it in detail at that time, they vaguely understood that mining was not only hard work, but there seemed to be some unknown problems. In short, this was definitely a very bad job. Duan Rong seemed to see that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were thinking about their own ideas, and he couldn't help but say, "Don't think about it anymore. I advise you to follow us obediently, so that you can suffer less physical pain. Otherwise, once you are injured by us and go to the spirit-devouring mine, your situation will be worse." As soon as he finished speaking, Duan Rong's aura spread out directly, as if warning everyone. After feeling this tyrannical aura, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were shocked. This kind of cultivation was indeed much stronger than theirs. The strength of the cultivators in the immortal realm is indeed outrageous. Shangguan Yingying's face was pale. This kind of aura was obviously stronger than that of the D family's patriarch. They were indeed no match for him. At this moment, everyone gave up the idea of resisting. If they were seriously injured here, it would be very difficult to escape later. Instead of this, it was better to go to the spirit-devouring mine first. After noticing the change in the expressions of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, Duan Rong and the others also showed satisfied smiles on their faces. Only people in good condition who were sent to the spirit-devouring mine could be sold for a good price, and they would have another income today. Let's go. Under Nalan Fu's lead, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others directly sat on their flying magic tool and flew out of the abandoned immortal forest. Seeing Nalan Fu's flying magic tool, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others carefully sized it up. They found that this flying magic tool was undoubtedly simpler and lighter than the ones in the upper realm, and its flying speed was faster. This was the first time they had seen people from the immortal realm. These people were truly heaven's favored children with a single glance. Nalan Shui sat on the flying magic tool, but she still couldn't help but look at D. I didn't expect him to be an abandoned person, what a waste of his good-looking face. Di Bei Chen faintly glanced at Nalan Shui. His deep and handsome eyes were covered with frost. When Nalan Shui felt this gaze, she couldn't help but retract her gaze. Her expression was slightly awkward. Shui, why are you telling them all this? Nalan Fu raised his eyebrows. These fellows are quite smart. They knew that they were no match for us, so they didn't resist. You should know very well what happens to the people in the spirit-devouring mine. To put it bluntly, they are just coolies. These abandoned people shouldn't be alive in the first place. Now that we've asked them to help mine, we've given them a chance to show their value. Otherwise, it's meaningless for them to live. Duan Rong laughed. Chapter 6208. It's funny. The abandoned people of the abandoned immortal forest never give up. Many of them want to enter the immortal region. They're really overestimating themselves. Nalan Fu shook his head. They don't even think about it. What right do they have to enter the immortal region with their status? Abandoned people are abandoned people. Even if they work hard to cultivate, their strength can't surpass the people of the immortal region. Duan Rong's eyes were full of pride. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others didn't say anything. They just listened to Nalan Fu and the others talk. These fellows clearly thought that noble blood flowed in their bones, and they looked down on everyone other than the immortal region. That kind of pride that seemed to be innate really made one speechless. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly understood why Granny Hua and the others chose to live in the abandoned immortal forest. Although the cultivators in front of them were very strong, it was obvious that they were nothing in front of Granny Hua and the others. With these seniors' abilities, it was definitely not difficult to enter the immortal region. Perhaps they couldn't stand the high and mighty attitude of the cultivators of the immortal region. After all, this kind of attitude was really disgusting. Not long after, the flying magic tool landed steadily. All of a sudden, the noise outside became noisy. All of you get out! Nalan Fu shouted. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others slowly walked out of the flying magic tool, only to find that they were already near a black mine. The environment here was completely different from the abandoned immortal forest. Everywhere they looked was black. There was no green or vitality. These ores looked very hard, as if they had been polished. They were abnormally smooth. Spirit-devouring ores were probably referring to this place. Bailey Hongzhuang tried to use her mind power to touch the spirit-devouring ores, but found that it was very difficult to penetrate. This feeling was similar to the situation in the ancient battlefield. When she was looking for blood spirit stones, the ground was also very difficult to penetrate with her mind power. However, the resistance of this spirit-devouring ores was even greater than that of blood spirit stones. Di Beichen and the others were also cautiously looking around. They were not too worried about the current environment. Although their strength was not a match for these people, it was not difficult for them to escape. Brotherly. Duan Rong waved at a big man in front of him with great familiarity. The burly man's figure was extremely sturdy. His entire body was filled with muscles. His skin was dark and his face was rough. It was obvious that he was tanned because he had been guarding the spirit devouring or here. Young Master Duan, what brings you here today? Brotherly, these are the abandoned people we caught from the abandoned immortal forest. How much can you sell them for? Hearing this, Li Wei was slightly stunned. His gaze immediately fell on Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Looking at the bearing of these people, he thought they were friends of Duan Rong and others, but he didn't expect them to be the abandoned people of the abandoned immortal forest. Really? Li Wei was stunned. Young Master Duan, the abandoned people you caught are different from the ones you usually see. Haha, I thought so too when I first saw it. Duan Rong chuckled. Big brotherly, these abandoned people have become smarter. I don't know where they bought their supplies from. If it weren't for their low cultivation, I would have thought that they were from the immortal region. Li Wei carefully checked the cultivation of Di Beichen and the others. Only then did he relax. I didn't expect there to be such a thing. No wonder these abandoned people have become more and more difficult to find recently. Chapter 6209. Duan Rong chuckled. Although these guys aren't very strong, they're still strong. I believe they can work here for a while. No problem. Li Wei nodded. Since you brought them here, the price will naturally not be low. Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that Li Wei and Duan Rong had walked to the side. Li Wei even took out some spirit stones and handed them to Duan Rong. After seeing the blood-red spirit stone, Bailey Hongzhuang recognized at a glance that it was the blood spirit stone that they had obtained before. The ancient battlefield was indeed from the immortal region. These blood spirit stones were the spirit stones used by the cultivators of the immortal region. After receiving the payment, Duan Rong smiled and said, Brotherly, we'll take our leave first. If you find any abandoned people in the future, remember to bring them to me. I definitely won't treat you unfairly. Don't worry. After Duan Rong left, Li Wei looked at Di Beichen and the others and said, You guys go over there and get your tools. From now on, you'll be mining here. Hand in at least 3 spirit-devouring stones every day. Otherwise, you'll end up like them. Looking in the direction that Li Wei was pointing at, everyone saw a tragic scene. Smack! Long whips ruthlessly lashed the bodies of several cultivators. They seemed to have been mining here all year round. They were skinny and their bodies were covered in wounds. After a few whips, they were drenched in blood. You can't even hand in 3 spirit-devouring stones a day, you bunch of trash. Useless things. If you can't dig it out, then die. I'll beat you to death. The roars were mixed with pleas for mercy, causing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to frown. These cultivators must have come from the abandoned immortal forest, but they were captured by the people of the immortal region to mine here. From then on, they had no freedom and had to stay here all day. These bastards! Ling are cursed. Based on this, it could be seen that the people of the immortal region did not treat the cultivators of the abandoned immortal forest as humans. Fang Qing, these people will follow you. Tell them what you have to do every day. Li Wei waved his hand and summoned a young cultivator. The man looked to be in his 20s. Compared to those cultivators who were beaten up, he looked much better. Brotherly, don't worry. I will teach them well. Do your best. After Li Wei left, Fang Qing looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Her eyes were filled with curiosity, but after noticing the surroundings, she did not say anything. She only said, Follow me. After receiving the bamboo baskets and shovels, they followed Li Wei into the mine. When there was no one around, Li Wei said, You don't look like abandoned people. Are you from the Crossing Immortal Domain? Crossing Immortal Domain. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others heard about this place from the third person. You know about the crossing immortal domain? Di Beichen asked tentatively. Fang Qing nodded slightly. Actually, I came from the crossing immortal domain. I think you guys look very similar. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other. If it was a normal ascension, they should have come to the immortal region through the crossing immortal domain. However, they did not ascend at all. They came to the abandoned immortal forest through the Chaos Ring. Brother Fang, why were you captured to mine after ascending to the crossing immortal domain? Chapter 62:10. Hearing this, Fang Qing sighed. In the past, the crossing immortal domain was the place where everyone ascended. If they could successfully ascend to the immortal domain, then they could be called immortals. However, ever since the spirit-devouring mine was discovered, the people of the immortal domain were unwilling to mine it themselves. However, they wanted the spirit-devouring stone, so they extended their claws to the abandoned immortal forest and the crossing immortal domain. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others finally understood. When they asked Granny Hua about the matter earlier, Granny Hua only said a few words casually and did not explain it in detail, so they were not too clear. Now that Fang Qing said this, they understood a little. Originally, this spirit-devouring mine was mainly done by the abandoned people of the abandoned immortal forest. However, most of these abandoned people have been captured. They really can't find anyone to mine, so they thought of a way to find some people from the crossing immortal domain. Speaking of which, it's really unlucky. We can only blame our bad luck for encountering this when we ascended. Fang Qing's face could not hide the gloominess. These days, I've been seeing the abandoned people of the abandoned immortal forest. It's rare to see people from the crossing immortal domain, so I said a few more words. Don't take offense. Big Brother Fang, we still have to thank you for introducing the situation. If you didn't tell us, we really wouldn't know what was going on, Wen Ziren said. Originally, they were also a little curious as to why Fang Qing was so warm and familiar. It was only at this moment that they completely understood. It was probably because she had stayed in the spirit-devouring mine for a while but did not even have a familiar face, so she could not help but open her mouth when she met them. In short, it's bad luck to be caught in this spirit-devouring mine. Fang Qing secretly spat. We can't stay in this place for long. Big Brother Fang, what do you mean? Di Beichen's eyes revealed a trace of doubt. He vaguely felt that this place was very strange, but he could not feel where the problem was for the time being. The spirit-devouring stone is a kind of spirit stone that is very helpful in increasing spiritual power. The price is very high, but this spirit-devouring stone comes from the spirit-devouring mine. This spirit-devouring mine is different from the spirit-devouring stone. There are many benefits. This is a place of torture. If he wanted to dig out the spirit-devouring stone, he could only use his mental power to penetrate the ore. However, this spirit-devouring stone was very difficult to penetrate, so he could only see a little distance. Not only that, but the spirit-devouring ore will also continuously deplete one's spiritual energy. Fang Qing raised her eyebrows and subconsciously looked outside. You should have seen the cultivators who were beaten up earlier, right? They have stayed in the spirit-devouring mine for a long time and their spirits are low. The possibility of digging up spirit-devouring stones again is very small. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression changed slightly. If the spirit-devouring ore will constantly eat away at a cultivator's spiritual power, then after a long time, will the cultivator's spiritual power be completely eaten away? Of course. Fang Qing nodded, a trace of disgust in her eyes. This is the reason why the spirit-devouring mine has always lacked people. Those fellows in the immortal realm don't treat us as humans at all. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others fell silent. They could roughly guess what would happen to the cultivators who had lost their mental strength. The so-called spirit-devouring stones were exchanged with these people's lives. Everyone, let's start mining first. If we can't complete the goal every day, we'll be punished. Chapter 62:11. According to Fong Qing's introduction, the location of the spirit-devouring stone was very scattered, so everyone could only use their mental strength to investigate. After finding the spirit-devouring stone with their mental strength, they used a shovel to dig it up. These shovels were also special. The spirit-devouring stone was very hard. Using other weapons to dig it would be very slow. After using this shovel, although the speed was not fast, it was at least a little faster than other weapons. In the end, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others found a quieter place and began to try to dig. Everyone used their mental strength to sense the situation in the spirit-devouring stone. Their mental strength penetrated the spirit-devouring stone with difficulty to observe the existence of the spirit-devouring stone. In the process of searching, they also found that their mental strength seemed to be absorbed by something. Although it was very small, they could still detect it if they observed carefully. This spirit-devouring stone is too strange. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. She did not have the slightest good impression of the black spirit-devouring stone in front of her. This spirit-devouring stone can help cultivators improve their mental strength, but it is constantly eating away at the mental strength of the miners. Could it be that the spirit-devouring stone is absorbing it? Di Baichen frowned slightly. This kind of feeding and reverse-feeding state really made people feel complicated. Big Brother Fong said that the impact of mining in a short period of time is not great. Let's complete today's goal first and see what this spirit-devouring stone looks like. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows slightly. Although they were in the spirit-devouring stone and not the real immortal domain, this place was already very close to the immortal domain. When I become stronger, I must find that Nalan Fu and say that he looks down on us. When my strength surpasses him, let's see if he can still say such words. When Xiren's face was filled with anger. Recalling the condescending look of Nalan Fu and the others made him very unhappy. Hearing this, a cold look flashed across everyone's eyes. As for these people, they would definitely meet again in the future. The distribution of these spirit-devouring stones is very scattered. Let's split up and search. Di Baichen looked around and said slowly. Everyone nodded. According to Fong Qing's introduction, most of the cultivators in the spirit-devouring mine were abandoned people of the abandoned immortal forest. Although they were filled with anger towards the steward, they did not have any hostility towards the people who also came to mine. Because they were all in the same boat, they were already miserable when they came here, so they naturally wouldn't make things difficult for each other. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but sigh. The abandoned people in the abandoned immortal forest didn't do anything wrong. They were only treated like this because they weren't from the immortal region. The situation in the crossing celestial region wasn't much better. It seemed like the celestial region was much crueler than the upper realm. At this moment, everyone completely understood why Shu Yu had returned to the upper realm after going to the crossing immortal region. In the upper realm, he was the #1 expert that everyone respected. However, after going to the crossing immortal domain, not only did he not have any advantage, he might even be captured to mine. Between the two, if it was anyone else, they would probably choose to stay in the crossing immortal region. However, Fong Qing's conversation with them was really too short. There were still many things that she couldn't ask. She could only wait for everyone to get familiar with each other before asking properly. After searching for a while, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes suddenly lit up because she found a spirit-devouring stone in the spirit-devouring mine underground. Chapter 62:12. After Xiao Hei saw that there was no one else around, she also revealed herself and began to help Bailey Hongzhuang search and mine. When the shovel dug into the spirit-devouring ore, Bailey Hongzhuang also understood why the number of spirit-devouring ores that everyone found every day was so limited. It was because this spirit-devouring ore was simply too hard. Even with a special shovel, it was abnormally strenuous to dig it up. At this moment, all elemental powers seemed to have lost their effect. The only thing that was useful was pure power. The immortal region is indeed the immortal region. Even mining is not something that ordinary people can do. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips twitched. In any case, she was a cultivator of the heavenly moon realm, but she never thought that mining would be so difficult. If it was a cultivator with a weaker cultivation, the shovel might not even be able to pierce into the ground. Master, leave this kind of hard work to me. Xiao He took up the heavy responsibility in a timely manner. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Xiao He with a smile and said, "Then I'll leave it to you. I'll go look for other spirit-devouring ores." "No problem." Xiao He patted her chest and promised. Bailey Hongzhuang continued to search for the spirit-devouring ores in the surroundings. After searching, she found that the situation was just as Fong Qing had said. The spirit-devouring ores were too scattered. Even if she found one, it was only a single one. To find 3 spirit-devouring ores in a day, it did not seem like a lot, but it would take a lot of time. Fortunately, my mental power has always been paying attention to improving. The range of my observation is not very small. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed faintly. When she found the 3 spirit-devouring ores, the sky was already dark. Looking at the black fist-sized spirit-devouring ores in her hand, she could sense the energy fluctuations contained in them. This kind of energy fluctuation was different from the pure vitality in the spirit ores. It was a completely different kind of energy. Even if it was just a slight touch of mental power, Bailey Hongzhuang could feel that her mental power was being nourished. He had never experienced such a feeling before. It was no wonder that everyone wanted to obtain such a good item. "I'll look for other spirit-devouring stones." Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows slightly. This thing was indeed a treasure. If mining here would cause their spiritual power to continuously regress, then if they were to use the spirit-devouring stone to nourish their spiritual power while mining, would it be able to offset it? When this thought emerged, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't stop herself. She had to give it a try and see if it had such an effect. Not long after, Di Beichen arrived at Bailey Hongzhuang's side. "Wife, how's your search going?" "I'm digging for the 4th spirit-devouring stone." Bailey Hongzhuang raised her head when she heard the voice. Her beautiful face was filled with a bright smile. She was indeed more beautiful than a flower. Looking at that smile full of healing power, Di Beichen's mood unconsciously became better. His wife was really optimistic. She could still maintain such a good mood in such an environment. It was really admirable. "How's your harvest?" Di Beichen smiled faintly. "I found 5 spirit-devouring stones." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. "You're very fast. It's not easy to find these spirit-devouring stones. It took me so much time to find the 4th one. I was lucky to find 2 spirit-devouring stones together." Chapter 62:13. Soon, Mo Yunjue and the others returned one after another. Shangguan Yingying had a bitter face. "This spirit-devouring mine is too complicated. I've only dug out 2 spirit-devouring stones after searching for so long." "It's okay. I have an extra one here for you." Mo Yunjue took out a spirit-devouring stone and handed it to Shangguan Yingying. Seeing this, Shangguan Yingying took the spirit-devouring stone and said in shame, "I've dragged you guys down. You might just be unlucky. The place you found today has fewer spirit-devouring stones." Mo Yunjue's voice was as emotionless as ever, but the comfort in his words washed away the chill and revealed a trace of warmth. Shangguan Yingying looked at Mo Yunjue with a gentle gaze. She knew that Mo Yunjue was actually cold on the surface but not cold on the heart. "It's getting late. Let's go back," Bailey Hongzhuang said. She noticed that some people had already dug out the spirit-devouring stone and returned. They wanted to meet Fong Qing earlier so that they could get more information from him. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others walked out of the mine, Fong Qing was already waiting for them. After looking at the harvest of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, Fong Qing heaved a sigh of relief. She immediately collected everyone's basket and handed it to Li Wei. However, when Fang Qing handed the spirit-devouring stone to Li Wei, Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that Fang Qing had secretly added an extra spirit-devouring stone. Li Wei quietly accepted the spirit-devouring stone and smiled at Fang Qing. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood. No wonder Li Wei's attitude towards Fang Qing was different from the others. It turned out that there was such a relationship between them. Sure enough, no matter when, buying people's hearts was an important method. Fang Qing walked over from Li Wei's side with a smile on her face. Then, she said to everyone, "Follow me. I'll bring you to the place where you'll stay tonight." Hearing this, everyone followed behind Fang Qing and walked inside. "You guys did well today. You completed the mission on the first day. Many people don't understand the situation at all when they come here for the first time, or they don't care about it at all, so they are always beaten very badly." A trace of gloom flashed across Fang Qing's eyes, as if she had recalled some unpleasant memories. "This is all thanks to Brother Fang's advice," said Di Baichen. "Usually, I don't bother to say much when I meet other people. It's just that it's rare to meet someone from the crossing celestial domain. We're all in the same boat, so I said a few words. In short, since you're already here, you should be mentally prepared. Unless you can leave this place, you will end up like those people sooner or later." A trace of sadness appeared on Fang Qing's face. Even though Li Wei and the others usually treated him well, he knew very well that it was just a relationship of use. Other than not being punished like the others, there was nothing he could do to change the situation. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and could hear the helplessness in Fang Qing's words. "Big Brother Fang, have you heard of a person called Shuyu?" Bailey Hongzhuang saw that Fang Qing seemed to have a lot of things that no one could say, so she asked her own question. "How do you know Shuyu?" Fang Qing was a little surprised. She put away her original disappointment and a thick curiosity appeared on her face. Everyone's eyes lit up. It seemed that they had not asked the wrong person. Fang Qing really knew Shuyu. "To be honest, we came from the same place as Senior Shuyu, so we've heard some things about him." Chapter 62:14. Looking at the nervousness and curiosity on Fang Qing's face, Di Baichen nodded. He went back. Fang Qing's expression suddenly became extremely complicated. In the end, there was a hint of relief. That guy is not only bold, but also very lucky. He actually succeeded in going back. "Brother Fang, can you tell us about the situation at that time?" Bailey Hongzhuang asked. "Since you know Shuyu, didn't he tell you?" Fang Qing was a little puzzled. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head slightly. "Although we know Senior Shuyu, we don't know him very well. We only heard some of his deeds." "I see." Fang Qing understood. "Back then, we were all in the crossing immortal domain. Actually, after we arrived at the crossing immortal domain, as long as we could successfully ascend, we could become a true immortal. However, the immortal domain closed the entrance to the crossing immortal domain, so we stayed in the crossing immortal domain. During that time, all of us were thinking about how to successfully reach the immortal domain because the cultivation resources in the crossing immortal domain were not enough, and there was a mysterious force suppressing us. Perhaps it was because one had to pay a certain price to become an immortal, and this price also had a time limit. If one did not succeed in the stipulated time, their cultivation would regress. Because of this pressure, all of us were thinking of ways. However, other than the entrance, it was too difficult to reach the immortal domain from the crossing immortal domain. Many cultivators tried to rush over directly, but in the end, they all lost their lives. At that time, we were all in despair. Shuyu was a very smart person. After he realized that he could not successfully ascend, he thought about how to go back. I remember that he spent a lot of time researching how to go back. In the end, one day, he broke through the manager's guard and disappeared. Fang Qing's gaze was distant. Her thoughts had returned to the painful and confused memories of the past. At that time, was Senior Shuyu the only one who broke through? Mo Yinju asked. They had only seen Shu Yu once, but they did not expect such a thing to happen. At that time, there were 3 other people who broke through with Shu Yu. However, the 3 of them were not as lucky as Shu Yu. The 3 of them were caught and died while Shu Yu disappeared. From then on, everyone gave up on the idea of going back. We all subconsciously believed that Shu Yu was already dead, but we didn't expect that he actually succeeded. The corners of Fong Qing's lips curled up into a smile. If I had known earlier, I would have given it a try. Unlike now, I don't even have the chance to give it a try. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other. Under such circumstances, they could not comfort Fong Qing. The spirit-devouring mine was indeed a place that made people despair. I'm afraid that Shu Yu will never come back to the crossing immortal domain again. However, he shouldn't have done that. He knew that the crossing immortal domain is such a place, yet he didn't tell the junior about it. Fong Qing sighed faintly and patted Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue's shoulders. Those who can come to the crossing immortal domain are all heaven's favored ones from their previous planes. I thought that I would have a better future after I ascended. Who would have thought that I would end up in such a situation? If I had known earlier, I would have stayed there peacefully. At least I would have lived a comfortable life. Big brother Fong, haven't you ever thought of running away? Suddenly, Di Beichen's voice rang out. Chapter 62:15. Beichen, you can't say such words in front of others. If you're not careful, you might lose your life, Fong Qing said nervously. Di Beichen's lips curled up slightly. Brother Fong, we believe in you. Hearing this, Fong Qing was slightly stunned. Then, she smiled in relief, and her expression softened. I was wondering why I felt a sense of familiarity when I saw you guys. It seems that we really hit it off. Looking at Fong Qing's appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang keenly noticed that the former's gaze seemed to have changed. If there was still a trace of wariness in the trust before, then this trace of wariness gradually dissipated. It's very difficult to leave this place. I advise you not to have this idea for the time being. The spirit-devouring mine is not far from the immortal realm. With our situation, it's impossible to enter the immortal realm. The cultivators of the immortal realm all have their own identity card. If they don't have an identity card, even if they pretend to be in, they will be discovered. At that time, their fate will be even worse. Other than that, the other side is the abandoned immortal forest. If we want to run, the only path is the abandoned immortal forest. However, we are not familiar with the abandoned immortal forest at all, and we don't know the situation inside. It's said that the cultivators in the abandoned immortal forest are very repulsive to the cultivators outside. Even if we go to the abandoned immortal forest, our days won't be easy. We can only live in that abandoned place for the rest of our lives. Fong Qing's expression was gloomy, and there was a hint of bitterness in his voice. I really didn't expect that I would end up in such a situation. Fate is really unpredictable. Everyone fell silent. In fact, they had always wanted to enter the immortal realm one day. However, it was so difficult to enter the immortal realm. It was also very difficult for them to complete it. You guys must be tired from digging for the whole day. Don't think too much. Since you're already here, stay here first. There won't be any problems for a short period of time. Fong Qing left after leaving this sentence. That thoughtful look revealed his mood. Clearly, the news of Shu Yu's successful return had stimulated him quite a bit. Inside the house, the living environment was obviously extremely poor. Everyone shared a room. However, after their observation, they found that sharing a room was already very good treatment. The living environment of the others were even worse than theirs. Thinking about it, this was also what Fong Qing had fought for them. Speaking of which, Fong Qing's friendliness came out of nowhere, but no one doubted it. Some malice came for no reason, and sometimes some kindness came for no reason. In the next few days, they also understood why Fong Qing was so kind to them. This was because he was the only one in the entire spirit-devouring mine who came from the crossing immortal domain. The others came from the abandoned immortal forest. Therefore, he was the only one left behind. If he hadn't maintained a good relationship with Li Wei, he would have been in the most difficult situation. Now that they had appeared, Fang Qing felt a little more comforted. At least she was no longer alone. When Zhong Li Mu went to look for Di Beichen and the others after his training, he found that they were all gone. He was a little puzzled. Could it be that something happened at home, so they left without saying a word? However, after Lil Xuanzi returned, he realized that something was amiss. Chapter 62:16. Hearing Zhongli Mu's words, the expressions of Granny Hua and the others changed slightly, and a complicated look flashed across their eyes. Seeing the change in everyone's expression, Xiao Xuanzi became even more anxious. Why aren't you saying anything? Where is that place? That's the direction of the immortal domain, Zhongli Mu said. Xiao Xuanzi was slightly stunned. With the current situation of his master and the others, it was impossible for them to take the initiative to go to the immortal domain. Therefore, there was only one reason why they left, and that was that they must have been captured. It seems that Hong Zhuang and the others might have been captured to mine. Granny Hua sighed. Recently, there have been people coming to capture people to mine. I'm afraid that this time, they just happened to encounter it. Granny Hua, what should we do now? Zhongli Mu's face revealed a worried expression. During this period of time they had been paying attention to this point, but they did not expect that they would really encounter it. They should be in the spirit-devouring mine now, but you don't have to worry too much. Di Beichen and the others are all smart people. Even if they are captured, they won't suffer a big loss. Yu Hong was relatively calm. Although the cultivation of Di Beichen and the others was still very far away from the cultivators of the immortal domain, they were all very smart. In a situation where they could not win, they would not fight head-on. In comparison, Zhongli Mu was more worrying in this aspect. This kid was too simple and did not understand the twists and turns of the outside world. Then we'll go and save them now? Xiao Xuanzi hurriedly said. He felt a wave of regret in his heart. If only he did not go to find Xiao Hua today. Granny Hua thought for a moment, but before she could speak, Zhongli Xiaoran's voice rang out. Since they were captured, it's also fate. There's no need to worry for the time being. Let's see if they can come back on their own. Hearing this, Zhongli Mu's expression changed, and he asked anxiously, Grandpa, didn't you say that the situation in the spirit-devouring mine is very dangerous? Now that Big Brother D and the others have been captured, how can we sit back and do nothing? That old man Zhong Li is right. We've been giving pointers to these kids for a while now. Although they went out earlier than we expected, it doesn't mean that we can't deal with it. Let's wait for the time being. Hua Shukong said faintly. Old woman, the abilities you've given to Hong Zhuang these days aren't bad either. What do you think? Granny Hua raised her eyebrows, and a trace of pride appeared in her eyes. The disciple that I have taught is naturally not bad. It's just that the time I have taught him is still a little short. Since that's the case, let's take a look at the adaptability of these little fellows. Seeing that the seniors had no intention of making a move, Zhongli Mu and Xiao Xuanzi couldn't help but look at each other. This situation was completely different from what they had imagined. Xiao Xuanzi's heart was filled with gloominess, but he couldn't say anything in front of these seniors. His heart immediately became even more gloomy. After the four seniors left, Xiao Xuanzi could not help but ask, Zhongli Mu, will my master and the others be in danger? I don't know either. Zhongli Mu frowned. I heard that the spirit-devouring mine is an extremely dangerous place. Previously, many cultivators in the abandoned immortal forest lost their lives there. That's why everyone hates the spirit-devouring mine to the bone. As soon as he said that, Xiao Xuanzi immediately became even more nervous. Then this can't go on. I have to go find them. Chapter 62:17. Zhongli Mu felt a little helpless. The reason why he told his grandfather and the rest about this was so that they could help. He did not expect his grandfather and the rest to be so calm, as if they did not care about this at all. Then are we just going to wait here? Xiao Xuanzi was annoyed. His cultivation had indeed increased recently, but compared to the cultivators in the immortal region, the gap was still too big. Even his master was taken away, what more him? Xiao Xuanzi, don't worry. We can go take a look around the spirit-devouring mine, but we must be careful not to be caught by others. Zhong Limu's eyes flashed with confidence. I believe in my grandfather and the rest's foresight. The reason why they are not worried is not because they don't care, but because they believe in Big Brother D and the rest's ability. There was a fundamental difference between the two. He believed that since Grandma Hua and the rest were so sure, then everyone would definitely be able to return safely. All right then. Spirit-devouring mine. The next morning, everyone was awakened by the loud sound of a gong. Everyone, get up and go mining. If you don't get up now, you'll have to taste my whip. Hurry up, if you continue to dawdle, I'll whip you to death. The group of cultivators quickly walked out of the house under the manager's roar. No one dared to slow down because once they slowed down, they could be whipped at any time. The whip did not taste good. A casual whip could split a person's skin and flesh. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest stood out among the group of skinny miners. Not only did they have to work hard every day to mine, but they also had to eat poorly. Fortunately, because they had to prepare good food for the seniors, they brought a lot of good food with them. Speaking of which, it was strange. They thought that the people here would take their qiankuan bags immediately, but they realized that Li Wei and the rest did not have that thought at all. However, they later understood that the cultivators in the abandoned immortal forest were just poor people in the eyes of Li Wei and the rest. They did not have anything useful at all. When they first came to the spirit-devouring mine, they were still interested in checking the qiankuan bag. After realizing that there was nothing useful, they did not bother about it anymore. It was just a waste of time. Holding the bamboo basket and shovel, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest walked into the mine once again. Compared to yesterday's confusion, everyone seemed much more familiar today. The speed of finding the spirit-devouring stone was very slow, but everyone was in good condition. Bailey Hongzhuang spent more than half a day to find 3 spirit-devouring stones. As for the rest of the time, she began to look for her own devouring spirit stone. This thing was so precious. It was said that every piece of devouring spirit stone was an extremely precious item in the immortal domain. This price was also completely explosive. Now that they were in the mine, they naturally prepared some for themselves. Although the process of searching would wear and tear her spiritual power to a certain extent, Bailey Hongzhuang also discovered that the continuous searching could also improve her spiritual power to a certain extent. This situation was similar to the improvement of mental strength. There was a certain effect, but the mental strength consumed by the spirit devouring or was more than the mental strength gained. As time went on, everyone's mental strength would only get worse and worse. Chapter 62:18. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. Once this thought appeared in her mind, it could no longer dissipate. Di Beichen and the others were also working hard to find the spirit-devouring stone. After last night's research, the spirit-devouring stone did indeed have a lot of benefit. There were many uses for mental strength. Although they usually didn't pay much attention to it, the use of mental strength was everywhere, whether it was in a fight or other situations. Cultivators could improve their cultivation through cultivation, but it was very difficult to improve their mental strength. It was because of this that the cultivators in the immortal domain needed the spirit-devouring stone so much. After staying in the spirit-devouring stone for a few days, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others also obtained some spirit-devouring stones. Although Li Wei and the others didn't care about what was in their qiankuan bag, they were very careful about the spirit-devouring stone. Every day, after handing over the spirit-devouring stone, everyone had to walk past a device. This device would check if the cultivator had hidden any spirit-devouring stones. In these few days, they had seen cultivators who were caught. Naturally, they were beaten up and even lost their lives. Fortunately, everyone put the spirit-devouring stone into the chaos ring, which allowed them to avoid being checked. At night, after Shangguan Ying absorbed the energy of the spirit-devouring stone, she found that her mental strength had increased a little compared to before. Immediately, a happy expression appeared on her face. Fortunately, we have the chaos ring. Otherwise, without the spirit-devouring stone, our situation would have gotten worse. Mo Yunjua nodded. The spirit-devouring stone is indeed a good thing. No wonder the mining continues even though we have to pay such a high price. It's a pity that the place where the ores are located is too scattered. It would be great if we could dig a hole where the ores are gathered together. Shangguan Ying started to daydream. The effect of these spirit-devouring stones was too good. It was a pity that they could only harvest 4 or 5 spirit-devouring stones in a day. Apart from the portion they needed to hand over, there was not much left. There's no other way. Bailey Hongzhuang spread her hands. This is the situation with the spirit-devouring stone. However, I feel that if our mental strength becomes stronger, the range of our detection will be wider, and the speed of our search will be faster. That's right. I just need some time. Di Beichen smiled faintly. The life of mining in the eyes of others was not very difficult for them. When Xiren's expression was relaxed, and the corners of his lips curled into a smile like a spring breeze. Previously, I thought that being caught here was a very tragic thing, but now I feel that it's not so bad. Even though this was the outskirts of the immortal domain, the elemental energy in the air and the laws of heaven and earth were stronger than in the abandoned immortal forest. Even though we don't have as much time to cultivate as before, the speed of our improvement hasn't slowed down by much. Coupled with the improvement of our mental strength, I think it's pretty good. Following Xiren's words, everyone smiled and nodded. This was also what they were thinking. Originally, after being captured, they were thinking about how to leave this place as soon as possible. But now, they weren't in a hurry to go back. The next day, when Di Beichen and the others started mining again, they unexpectedly saw 2 figures. Beichen, from now on, the 2 of them will follow you to mine. Fang Qing patted Di Beichen's shoulder and said with a smile. Chapter 62:19. I don't have to worry about you. Fang Qing's expression was relaxed. He thought that Di Beichen and the others would fall into deep despair after coming here. After all, from a proud son of heaven to a miner, such a psychological gap was definitely not something that ordinary people could accept. However, the performance of Di Beichen and the others completely exceeded his expectations. They didn't seem to feel that this job was hard at all, nor did they complain too much. They just completed the task on time every day. It was precisely because of their emotions that Fang Qing felt that his mood had become a little more cheerful. Not to mention him, even Li Wei's attitude towards Di Beichen and the others was not as harsh as his attitude towards the others. It was not for anything else, but because these people handed over the spirit-devouring stones that they should hand over every day. After Fang Qing left, Di Beichen let the 2 newcomers take the bamboo basket and shovel before walking into the mine together. Because their performance during this period of time had been good, the 3rd mine had become their exclusive mine. It was not until they reached the depths of the mine that Di Beichen said, Zhongli Mu, Xiao Xuanzi, why are you guys here too? Didn't we ask Xiao He and Xiao Bai to tell you guys before? We don't have any problems here, don't worry. Bailey Hongzhuang also frowned. It was fine if it was Xiao Xuanzi, but Zhongli Mu was the treasure of Senior Zhongli and the others. Now that he had come to the spirit-devouring mine, if Senior Zhongli knew about it, he would be very angry. We know. Xiao Xuanzi nodded. I've always wanted to meet up with you guys. Coincidentally, Zhongli Mu also said that he was coming, so we came together. Although it was not a good thing to come to the spirit-devouring mine, he just wanted to be with everyone, even if it was hard work here. Zhongli Mu, Have you told Senior Zhongli and the others about you coming here? Di Baichen asked with concern. Zhongli Mu shook his head slightly, a hearty smile on his face. Don't worry, my grandfather and the others won't worry. Grandfather and the others said earlier that they believe that you definitely have the ability to leave the spirit-devouring mine. What does it matter if I come to find you? When the time comes, we'll leave together. Moreover, I'm also a little curious about this spirit-devouring mine. I don't know what kind of place it is, so I just happened to come and see it. Seeing Zhongli Mu's expression, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but look at each other. But this kind of character of T. You didn't go find Xiao Hua? Hearing this, Xiao Xuanzi said with a serious face. Usually, I can chase after my wife, but at this time, Master is more important. Chapter 62:20. In the abandoned immortal forest. Granny Hua looked at the spirit-devouring mine, not far away with a playful smile on her face. Old man Zhongli, didn't you say that there's nothing to worry about? Why are you here today? Hua Shukong and Yu Hong couldn't help but chuckle. Ever since Di Baichen and the rest were taken away, they couldn't help but worry even though they believed that Baichen and the rest could handle everything. After all, these little guys had been with them for so long and were their disciples. They had feelings for them. Most importantly, without these little guys around, they had to eat the same food as before. It was a helpless feeling. Therefore, they secretly came to the spirit-devouring mine to find out more about Baichen and the rest. They thought that they were the only ones who came, but who would have thought that they would find each other? At that time, Hua Yuhong and Hua Shukong looked at each other. After a short moment of shock, the three of them couldn't help but chuckle. It seemed that the three of them came here with the same idea. At that time, Zhongli Xiaoran noticed that the three of them came back sneakily and even mocked them. Now that Mu had gone to the spirit-devouring mine, Zhongli Xiaoran couldn't sit still anymore. I'm here to see what you guys are looking at all the time, Zhongli Xiaoran said casually. Hearing that, Hua Shukong and the rest couldn't help but laugh. They didn't believe him at all. Old man Zhongli, what's the point of putting on airs every day? If you're worried about Mu just tell us. We won't laugh at you. Yu Hong raised his eyebrows and said. Zhongli Xiaoran glanced at him indifferently. I'm just wondering when this little brat will come back. Without him, there's no one to cook. Once he said that, Hua and the rest were stunned. They had neglected this problem. After Hong Zhuang and the rest left, although Mu's cooking skills were not as good as Hong Zhuang's, at least there was someone to cook for them. Now that Mu was gone, wouldn't it mean that only the four of them were left to stare at each other? Judging from the situation, we should let them come back as soon as possible, Hua Shukong said seriously. Granny Hua nodded slightly. That's right. Let's see what kind of method these little fellows will find to come back. If they come back too late, this old lady will be starved to death. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did not know that the four seniors were so worried about them. They only thought that the four seniors were extremely calm and confident in them. They were not worried that they would not be able to leave this place. Therefore, they were not in a hurry to leave at all. After all, they had nothing to lose by staying here. On the contrary, they could even increase their spiritual power. It could not be better. On this day, Fang Qing was invited into the house by everyone. Looking at the table full of delicious food, Fang Qing could not help but be stunned. Her eyes flashed with deep surprise. Where did you get so much food? Everyone knew how bad the spirit-devouring Or's food was every day. He had already forgotten how long it had been since he last saw such a feast. Brother Fang, we put some food in our cosmos bags earlier. We were lucky that it was not confiscated, so... When Xiren smiled brightly, Fang Qing immediately understood. I was wondering why you guys look so good. It turns out that you guys live so freely every day. Chapter 62:21. All of this is thanks to Brother Fang's care, so we wanted to come and show our filial piety to you today. Bailey Hongzhuang said with a smile. Fang Qing did not stand on ceremony and sat in front of the table. Actually, I didn't help you much. You're all smart people. Even if I'm not here, I believe you'll be able to do well. On the contrary, ever since you guys appeared, I feel that I have more to look forward to. Fang Qing laughed brightly. Come, brother Fang, let me toast you with this glass of wine. Haha, let's drink together. After 3 rounds of wine, everyone was slightly tipsy. Their faces were slightly red, but everyone's faces were brimming with smiles. Fang Qing then said slowly, I know that you guys should have your own way to absorb the power of the spirit-devouring stone, which is why you can maintain your current state. As soon as these words were said, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others immediately sobered up. They were not surprised by this. Even though they usually paid attention to disguising themselves, they understood that after a long time, they would not be able to disguise themselves even if they wanted to. Noticing the change in everyone's expressions, Fang Qing smiled and said, You don't have to be nervous. I don't have any ill intentions towards you. I just want to remind you that although the spirit-devouring stone can help us offset it, your methods are also very clever and have not been discovered by the steward. However, as time passes, it is inevitable that there will be a day when we will be exposed. Therefore, it is best to think of a way to leave this place. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other. It seemed that Fang Qing had been thinking about how to leave the spirit-devouring mine. Initially, when they heard Fang Qing's words, they were still a little worried. However, at this moment they also understood that Fang Qing really did not treat them as outsiders. In other words, Fang Qing was actually here to find allies. If they wanted to leave this place by relying on their own strength, it would be too difficult. They would definitely need to find allies for this plan to work. Brother Fang, have you found a feasible way recently? Di Beichen said slowly. Fang Qing looked carefully at Di Beichen and the others and said, Are you trustworthy? Brother Fang, since you are telling us this, doesn't that mean you believe us? Di Beichen smiled. His wise eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. Fang Qing looked at Di Beichen calmly and seriously. The atmosphere seemed to freeze at this moment. After a while, Fang Qing suddenly smiled and nodded. That's right, I believe you. Speaking of which, it's quite interesting. When I met you guys, I hit it off very well. I always feel that you guys are the most trustworthy people. Fang Qing's honest expression was mixed with a hint of complexity. I don't know why, but I always feel that you guys seem to have your own confidence and are not afraid of the situation here at all. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were also silent. Indeed, the situation of the spirit-devouring was not that bad for them. From the beginning to the end, they had treated this place as a kind of experience, as a way to understand the immortal realm more. However, Fang Qing's thoughts were completely different from theirs. This was a place filled with despair. If he stayed here, he could lose his life at any time. Therefore, he was very anxious and only hoped to leave this place as soon as possible. Facing such a Fang Qing, they could not help but feel a little moved. Even if it was only because of the care they had taken these days, they could not turn a blind eye to it. Chapter 62-22. Facing Fang Qing's sincere and serious look, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could not turn a blind eye to it. If Fang Qing had schemed against them during this process, they could still ignore it. However, from the beginning to the end, Fang Qing had always treated them as trustworthy people and took care of them. She had not even said a word for so many days. Until today, he did not know if it was because he was drunk or because he had not drunk for a long time that he had let down all his defenses. Just from his conflicted look, it could be seen that Fang Qing had been very conflicted about this matter during this period of time. It was only today that she made up her mind. Brother Fang, since you came to us for help, do you already have a countermeasure in mind? There was a hint of seriousness in Di Beichen's eyes. They had not been in the spirit-devouring mine for a long time, so there were many things that they did not know enough about. At least, according to the situation they had learned so far, the entire spirit-devouring mine could be said to be heavily guarded. No matter which way they went, it would be very difficult to escape. The abandoned people in the abandoned immortal forest tried their best to leave almost every day. Even though they had only been here for a short period of time, they had already seen teams escape. However, the result was not good. They were directly caught by Li Wei and the others. Needless to say, the outcome was unavoidable. They were even punished. If it were not for the fact that they still needed to mine, they would have lost their lives. Therefore, without sufficient preparation, they absolutely could not rashly escape. Otherwise, perhaps they would be able to leave this place unscathed, but Fang Qing would be in trouble. I did make some preparations. Fang Qing nodded, her expression a little more solemn. During this period of time, I have seriously understood the situation here. Every once in a while, Li Wei and the others needed to report the recent situation of the spirit-devouring mine to their leader. This day was equivalent to their summary and settlement day. At this time, the stewards would leave. Almost every day on this day, they would drink to their heart's content and be in a good mood. Of course, when they leave, they will arrange for more people to guard the spirit-devouring mine to prevent any problems from happening when they are not around, Fang Qing said again. Mo Yunjue's eyes turned solemn. Are you planning to take advantage of this day to escape? Fang Qing nodded slightly. That's right. Today is a very relaxing day for Li Wei and the other stewards. Although they have arranged for many people to keep watch, after my observation during this period of time, I discovered that there is actually a blind spot. Everyone's eyes lit up when they heard this. It seemed that Fang Qing had indeed spent a lot of effort to successfully leave this place during this period of time. Ordinary people would be exhausted if they could complete their daily tasks here. At this time, he had to take advantage of the time to observe if there was any way to leave this place. He would have to spend a lot of energy. I can take you to the mine tomorrow, but you must be careful not to be discovered by others. Fang Qing's eyes were filled with nervousness and worry. This is the only feasible method so far. If it is discovered, it will be even more difficult to leave. Everyone nodded. Big Brother Fang, don't worry. We understand. Brother Fang, where do you plan to go after leaving the spirit-devouring mine? Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly asked. Earlier, Fang Qing had already told them that if they didn't have an identity token, they would be discovered even if they entered the celestial domain, and it was no different from a dead end. Chapter 62-23. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's question, Fang Qing hesitated for a moment. Her eyes gradually became firm, and there was a resolute confidence in her. I plan to go to the chaotic immortal realm. The chaotic immortal realm? Bailey Hongzhuang was shocked. She had never heard of such a place in the chaotic immortal realm. Fang Qing nodded slightly. The chaotic immortal realm is different from the crossing immortal realm. The crossing immortal realm is a normal place for cultivators to ascend. If the people of the immortal realm did not change the rules of the crossing immortal realm, cultivators who ascend to the crossing immortal realm would be able to enter the immortal realm as long as they pass the test. The realm of chaotic immortal was another place where one could ascend to immortality in an abnormal way. There were no rules there, and only strength was respected. However, the chaotic immortal realm is rich in cultivation resources. Therefore, many cultivators from the immortal realm would go there to plunder cultivation resources. Most importantly, the chaotic immortal realm does not care where the cultivators come from. As long as they can obtain the immortal realm's cultivator identity card and insert their own information, they can become a real cultivator of the immortal realm. Therefore, I want to give it a try. His dark and deep eyes were filled with an indomitable determination. Back then, I struggled for so long before I finally arrived at the crossing immortal region. I'm only a step away from the immortal region. If I don't give it a try, I really won't be satisfied. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others understood. They didn't know that there was a place like the chaotic immortal domain here. As expected, there was always a way to change the situation. As long as Fang Qing could make a name for himself in the chaotic immortal realm, he could still become a cultivator of the immortal realm. If they were in Fang Qing's shoes, they would probably do the same. I understand. Brother Fang, we will help you, Di Baichen said seriously. Staying in a place like the spirit-devouring mine for a long time was just a waste of time. Only in a place like the chaotic immortal realm could cultivators grow faster. He had a feeling that Fang Qing could make a name for himself in the chaotic immortal realm. Fang Qing's eyes shone when he saw Di Baichen and the others' serious expressions. In the cave, he did not say anything. Brother Fang, how long until the next gathering? Mo Yunjue asked. 7 days. Mo Yunjue nodded slightly. We don't know enough about the situation here. I suggest that we don't take action immediately after 7 days. Let's observe for a while. After we confirm that this path is feasible, we will wait for a month. His handsome and cold face was expressionless as usual. Only his eyes, which were as deep as a black hole, flickered with a calm light. Fang Qing was immortal realm. He could not guarantee immortal realm's cultivators. Immortal realm was immortal realmus. The immortal realm was immortal realms. Was immortal realm was immortal. Immortal realm was immortal realm. To immortals Fang immortals immortal. Immortal immortal realm. Immortal immortal. Even though he was doing quite well in the spirit-devouring mine, only he knew how desperate he was under such circumstances. However, Fang Qing also understood that the reason why Mo Yunjue did this was to be foolproof. There really couldn't be any mistakes in this matter. Chapter 62-24. Anyway, we've already waited for so long. What's the harm in waiting for another month? Fang Qing smiled. Let's take advantage of the opportunity in 7 days to understand the situation. Everyone nodded. They already had some plans in their minds. In the next few days, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others continued to mine as usual. They did not show any difference. Li Wei was very assured of Fang Qing. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could hand over the spirit-devouring stones on time every day, he did not make things difficult for them. After all, every new batch of cultivators was in a good state when they were mining. It was just that as time passed, they would get worse and worse. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were mining hard every day. They did not have much time left in the spirit-devouring mine. It was best to take advantage of this time to accumulate more spirit-devouring stones. Once they returned to the abandoned immortal forest, they would not be able to obtain such a treasure in a short period of time. On this day, Fang Qing brought Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to an abandoned mine. This mine is very old. It was once a mine with a high probability of producing spirit-devouring stones. However, as the number of spirit-devouring stones decreased, everyone gave up on this mine and turned to other mines. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at the mine in front of them. The range of this mine was indeed not small. It was undoubtedly deeper than the mine they were digging now. It could be seen that the scene here must have been very lively back then. Then are there no spirit-devouring stones in this mine now? Shangguan Yingying asked curiously. There are still some, but it's harder to find. Moreover, it's more scattered. The same amount of energy will be gained here. It's not worth it, so we gave up. Fang Qing explained with a smile. So that's how it is. Shangguan Yingying understood and sighed. The spirit-devouring stone is really a good treasure. If it wasn't too difficult to find, I would really be willing to search here for a while. Even though mining every day consumed a lot of her spiritual power, under the nourishment of the spirit-devouring stone, her spiritual power actually increased to a certain extent. Don't look at this little increase. She could keenly sense many changes. Even during a battle, she was able to quickly discover the opponent's flaws. If he continued to stay here, even if he spent more time, his mental power would continue to grow. Because of me, your plan was disrupted. Fang Qing was a little apologetic. He understood that with the condition of Di Baichen and the others, it would not affect them to stay here for a little longer. It was just that he really could not stay any longer. Big Brother Fang Ying only mentioned it casually. Don't take it to heart. Ziren waved his hand. If we stay here for too long, it will inevitably arouse the suspicions of those in charge. 1 month is enough. That's right. If I don't go back now, my grandfather and the others will starve. Zhong Limu sighed. For as long as he could remember, the task of cooking had always been given to him. It wasn't until Hong Zhuang came that the task fell on Hong Zhuang. Now that he wasn't even by his side, it was really hard to imagine what grandfather and the others would eat every day. Looking at Zhong Limu's simple appearance, Bailey Hong Zhuang and the others couldn't help but feel that it was a little funny. Chapter 62-25. Zhongli Mu, don't worry. Before you were born, how did Senior Zhongli and the others survive? Shangguan Ying raised her eyebrows and asked. Hearing this, Zhongli Mu was slightly stunned. Ever since he could remember, he had always been the one cooking. He had never thought about this question. That makes sense. Then I don't have to worry? Zhongli Mu said in surprise. Of course. Shangguan Ying nodded. Senior Zhongli and the others are very powerful. This kind of small matter is not a problem for them. You guys don't know, but Zhongli Mu spent a lot of time preparing food before he left. Xiao Xuanzi suddenly interrupted. As soon as he said this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. This kid was really amazing. From the looks of it, he must have calculated the days to prepare things. Zhongli Mu scratched his head in embarrassment. Hee, I've never been far away, so no need to explain, we all understand. Fang Qing listened to everyone's conversation, and a complicated look flashed across his eyes, but more importantly, he felt relieved. In fact, he always knew that Baichen and the others had their own trump cards, but he didn't know what this trump card was. However, when he thought about how Zhongli Mu and Xiao Xuanzi actually came to the spirit-devouring mine just because they were worried about their situation, he was especially impressed. This kind of place that was completely like hell in the eyes of others, they actually didn't put it in their eyes at all. Just from their indifferent and casual appearance, these guys were completely here to play and earn a sum of spirit-devouring stones. At this moment, listening to Zhongli Mu's words, he was even more certain that his judgment was not wrong. This situation was definitely like this. We'll try to complete the mission for the day before the steward and the others leave. Then, while everyone is eating, we'll pretend to return to our residence and sneak here. Fang Qing slowly explained his plan. Big Brother Fang, no one comes to this abandoned mine, but we can't get out if we stay here. Shangguan Ying was a little puzzled. This mine actually existed in a row with the other mines. If they wanted to get out of here, they would definitely appear in front of others. It was completely useless. I've been preparing for this plan for a long time. Fang Qing smiled faintly. Previously, I specially studied these mines. Because the probability of spirit-devouring stones appearing in this mine was very high, it was also dug the deepest. Therefore, this is the closest mine to the spirit-devouring mine. There are guards all around the spirit-devouring mine. It's impossible to leave from any other place. We'll definitely be discovered. The only way is to leave through the mine without anyone noticing. As soon as he said this, everyone looked at each other, and an unbelievable thought appeared in their minds. Big Brother Fang, you didn't dig through this mine, did you? Bailey Hongzhuang was speechless. They had already experienced how difficult it was to dig out the spirit-devouring Oregon. Even if this mine was the closest to the outside, the distance would still be astonishing. If Fang Qing dug through this mine, how big of a project would it be? Chapter 62-26. Hearing Fang Qing's affirmative answer, everyone could not help but open their mouths wide. Their faces were filled with shock. Fang Qing was actually able to dig through such a long mine by herself. How much time and effort would it take? No wonder I can't see you usually. I finally understand now. Xiao Xuanzi's face was full of emotion. Fang Qing probably sneaked here to mine after completing her daily mission. Fang Qing spread her hands helplessly. This is the most suitable method that I've found after staying here for so long. The guards here are very strong. With our strength, we're no match for them. Although this method is very stupid, it's more feasible to implement. Everyone nodded. This was indeed the truth. An abandoned mine. Usually, no one would pay attention to this place. I don't know what method you used to successfully bring the spirit-devouring stones out. When I was digging the tunnel here, I would sometimes harvest some spirit-devouring stones, so I used these spirit-devouring stones. Fang Qing did not hide it. Even if it was an abandoned mine, under his continuous digging, there would naturally be a certain amount of spirit-devouring stones. If he did not have these spirit-devouring stones, he would not have been able to hold on until today. I see. Bailey Hongzhuang understood. She originally thought that Fang Qing also had some kind of treasure that could avoid inspection. Otherwise, Fang Qing would not have such spirit after staying here for such a long time, even if she was slightly better than the others. So, this was his method. Let's go and see the farthest place we can reach. Let's confirm if we can really dig through it when we leave. Di Baichen looked ahead and said. Everyone followed behind Fang Qing and slowly walked forward. Although this was a mine, it was very spacious. However, when everyone reached the deepest part of the mine, Fang Qing lifted the black stone slab on the ground. A tunnel that only one person could pass through appeared in their line of sight. Fang Qing was the first to enter the tunnel. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others followed suit. Finally, Xiao Xuanzi moved the stone slab over to cover the entrance of the cave. The entire pit was not big. Because there was only one person, Fang Qing only needed to dig it until it allowed one person to pass through. As they walked forward, everyone finally understood how long Fang Qing had been digging here. Just thinking about it, they could tell how many nights Fang Qing had stayed here. From this, it could be seen how strong his desire to leave this place was. Finally, after walking for an unknown amount of time, Fang Qing's footsteps stopped. It's here. Di Baichen used his mental power to check the situation and nodded. Not bad, we're already very close to the outside. Di Baichen sensed the aura outside after his spiritual power passed through a certain range of the spirit-devouring ore. Nevertheless, he withdrew his mental power in an instant. There were guards passing by the mine at all times. If their mental strength was detected by others, then their secret would be exposed. According to my observations during this period of time, there aren't many people guarding this mine because no one would think that someone would use this method to leave. Fang Qing lowered her voice. On the day the stewards go out to gather, the cultivators guarding the outside of the mine will enter to guard the cultivators in case anyone wants to escape. Chapter 62-27. From the looks of it, this method is indeed feasible. Di Baichen's lips curled into a faint smile. As long as they walked out of the mine, they would be in the abandoned Immortal Forest's range. At that time, they would only need to be careful not to be caught by others, and they would be able to return smoothly. Fang Qing was elated to receive everyone's affirmation. He had been mining for so long just for this day. Actually, it's a little difficult for me to get out with my own strength, so I need your help. Everyone's eyes shifted. Big Brother Fang, what do you need our help with? So far, Fang Qing had already planned everything. It seemed like he did not need any help at all. There's a layer of restriction at the other end of the mine that has been dug out. Earlier, when I was chatting with Li Wei, I got some information from him. He said that it's impossible to pass through this mine without 3 cultivators of the Radiant Sun realm and above working together. As soon as he said that, everyone's hearts sank. So, this was the most crucial problem. All of their joy seemed to have been dispelled at this moment. Di Baichen frowned slightly. Big Brother Fong, we're only at the heavenly moon realm. The difference between us and the radiant moon realm is too great. After Fong Qing's introduction, everyone already understood that only cultivators who had reached the radiant moon realm and had a certain understanding of the immortal Tao could ascend to the immortal crossing domain. Compared to the cultivation that could be increased with hard work, the understanding of the immortal Tao was the most important. This was an illusory feeling that could not be achieved with the help of outsiders. Only one day, when you suddenly had an epiphany and had a better understanding of the world's rules, could you see the entrance to the immortal crossing domain and ascend. It was only then that everyone understood why so few cultivators from the upper realm were able to ascend to the upper realm. That was because the second condition really depended on luck. Some people only needed a moment of epiphany after breaking through to the radiant sun realm, and some people who had already broken through to the radiant sun realm would never be able to ascend without an epiphany. The rules of heaven and earth were the higher realm. I understand. Fong Qing nodded. I'm a cultivator of the radiant sun realm. At the same time, I have a talisman. This talisman can simulate an attack from a cultivator of the radiant sun realm. Not only that, I heard that this restriction has been in place for a long time, and it is gradually fading. In such a situation, in addition to the fact that cultivators have been trying to break the restriction and leave for so many years, I believe that the power of the restriction is not as strong as before. As long as all of you combine your strength and attack it together, we might be able to break it. Fong Qing's gaze was serious. This was his only hope. If he couldn't escape this time, then he would never be able to leave this place. Although Di Beichen and the others were not strong enough, they were the only ones he could trust in the entire spirit-devouring mine. Hearing this, everyone fell into deep thought. Fong Qing had been preparing for this matter for so long. If they could not succeed this time, it would be equivalent to breaking all of Fong Qing's dreams. Seeing that everyone had fallen into silence, Fong Qing could not help but become anxious. Without the help of others, it would be impossible for him to leave this place with his strength alone. Chapter 62-28. Brother Fong, it's not that we're unwilling. We're just worried that if we can't break this restriction with our strength, it would be equivalent to destroying all your hope. Di Beichen's expression was solemn. Even though they had not known Fong Qing for a long time, they really hoped that Fong Qing could leave this place and successfully enter the immortal realm in the future. If they cut off Fong Qing's hope because they were not strong enough, this was obviously not an acceptable result. That's right, Brother Fong. Could it be that there are no trustworthy brilliant sun realm cultivators in the spirit-devouring mine? Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. If there is, I believe that he will be willing to keep this a secret and leave together. Fong Qing shook her head helplessly. These days, because I have a good relationship with Li Wei, in the eyes of many cultivators, I am in cahoots with him. Other than you new cultivators who don't have any hostility towards me, no one else can get close to me. Under circumstances that are beneficial to both sides, they probably won't make such a choice, Mo Yunjue said slowly. There were no eternal enemies, only eternal benefit. I've tried before, but because both sides don't trust each other enough, I can't tell this secret to others. They're on guard against me being sent by Li Wei to test them, and I need to be on guard against them. Instead of working together in such a situation where we don't trust each other, it's better to give up. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other. They could understand Fong Qing's thoughts. If they did not meet a friend who was trustworthy enough, it would be equivalent to handing their lives over to others. Don't worry. I've already summed up some experience from the cultivators who tried to escape. With your strength combined, you'll definitely be able to break through this restriction. Fong Qing looked at everyone nervously. I don't have any more time. Because this restriction is gradually loosening, Li Wei and the others have already reported this situation. In 3 months, the immortal realm will send out array masters to reinforce the restriction. When that time comes, I really won't have a chance. Everyone was slightly stunned. They did not expect all of this to happen so coincidentally. Looking at Fong Qing's expression, they understood that even without them, Fong Qing would probably want to give it a try. If they missed this opportunity, when the restriction weakened the next time, he would probably be like the other cultivators, with no chance of leaving. Brother Fong, we understand. Di Beichen's eyes were deep. Since you trust us so much, we'll definitely do our best when the time comes. We'll definitely do our best. Thank you. Fong Qing looked at everyone's, even if they were not strong enough, it was better than nothing. It was worth it to gamble everything in exchange for a sliver of freedom. After understanding of the situation, Mo Yunjue said Fong Qing shuddered to the outside world, to the outside the restriction of the immortal realm. Fong Yunjue's Fong. All right. Xiao Xuanzi became the leader, leading everyone back the way they came. However, just as he was about to return, Di Beichen's footsteps suddenly stopped. Chapter 62-29. Beichen, what's the matter with you? Bailey Hongzhuang saw Di Beichen stop and asked with concern. Di Beichen just stood there quietly. His black eyes were filled with shock and doubt. It took him a long time to recover. Wife, use your mental strength to sense this place. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang was a little puzzled, but she still carefully sensed it. She couldn't help but widen her eyes when she sensed it. Her exquisite and beautiful face was filled with astonishment. How could this be? Previously, because the spirit devouring or had the effect of exhausting mental strength, even if everyone came here, they had not used their mental strength. After all, other than mining, it was obviously not appropriate to waste mental strength in such a mine with an extremely low yield. Di Beichen only thought that Fong Qing had already dug this road so deep when he passed by. No one else had been here before, so there might be spirit-devouring stones nearby. It was just that this discovery was a little unexpected. After everyone saw Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang's reactions, they all used their mental strength to investigate. With this, everyone's reaction was the same. Oh my God, am I seeing things? Shangguan Yingying rubbed her eyes. She had never thought of such a scene. Unless all of us are seeing things, all of this is real. Bai Li Yanche said. Xiao He jumped excitedly on Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulder. Her huge round eyes sparkled with excitement. Master, are we rich? We are indeed rich. Her cherry-pink lips curled up slightly, and her gorgeous face became even more delicate and beautiful like a flower. Under the detection of their mental strength, there was a large number of spirit-devouring stones in front of them. At a glance, there were at least thousands of them. These spirit-devouring stones were not scattered, but gathered together. They were also black spirit-devouring stones. If they were not careful, they would be treated as ores. However, the rich power emitted from them was obviously not fake. How is this possible? Fong Qing looked at this scene in shock. He had spent a lot of time digging this tunnel, and would come here almost every day. However, he had never found so many spirit-devouring stones here. If Di Beichen hadn't discovered it, perhaps he wouldn't have known that there was a spirit-devouring stone vein here until they left. Bai Li Yanche chuckled. Big Brother Fong, if you had moved your tunnel to the side, you would have found it. I really don't know if I'm lucky or not. Fong Qing could not help but sigh. She had almost discovered such a treasure land, but she had actually missed it just like that. Fortunately, he had brought everyone here today. Otherwise, they would have missed out on these spirit-devouring stones. The spirit-devouring stones here are really strange. There are so many of them gathered together. Ling raised her eyebrows slightly. Didn't you say that most of the spirit-devouring stones are scattered? The devouring spirit stones in the mine are indeed scattered, but there is also a situation where the devouring spirit stone veins appear. Only when the devouring spirit stone veins appear will a large number of devouring spirit stones appear together. Chapter 62-30. This place is indeed worthy of being a pit with an extremely high yield of ores. Fang Qing sighed as he looked around. It's just that no one expected there to be a spirit-devouring stone vein below. Big Brother Fang, I can only say that you chose a good place. When Xiren chuckled. There's still a month's time. We can take advantage of this time to collect this spirit-devouring stone vein. Everyone's faces were filled with joy. Even though they didn't know enough about the Immortal Realms situation, just from how Li Wei and the others valued the spirit-devouring stone, they knew that this thing was also very precious in the Immortal Realms. In this way, they would at least have more confidence when they went to the Immortal Realms in the future. Moreover, with these spirit-devouring stones, their mental strength could also increase rapidly. Bailey Hongzhuang was very happy. Ever since she learned the summoning technique, what she needed the most was to increase her mental strength. This was because the stronger her mental strength, the more powerful and more demonic beasts she could summon. However, it was too difficult to increase her mental strength. She had already used up all the pills she had refined back then. Now that there were so many spirit-devouring stones, it was simply a heaven-sent opportunity. After the joy, everyone did not delay and immediately began to move. With so many spirit-devouring stones, even if they were gathered together, they were still extremely deep. It would take a lot of time to dig them out. Compared to the usual mining, everyone was full of energy at this moment. The spirit-devouring stone vein was not far from where they were. After spending some time to open up this place, the first spirit-devouring stone appeared in their line of sight. Di Baichen took out the first spirit-devouring stone, and more spirit-devouring stones appeared behind him. The range of the pit gradually expanded, and everyone began to dig around this area. One spirit-devouring stone after another was taken out. The treasures that were rarely seen were now being put into their bags like stones. Sweat dripped from everyone's foreheads, but no one felt tired at all. They only wanted to put these treasures in as soon as possible. After leaving this spirit-devouring mine, it would be difficult to find this spirit-devouring stone again in the future. It was not until the sky was about to brighten that everyone returned to the house when no one was paying attention. Looking at the devouring spirit stones in their respective Qiankuan bags, everyone revealed a satisfied smile. With so many spirit-devouring stones, we don't have to worry about the erosion of spiritual energy. Shangguan Yingying couldn't hide the excitement on her face. I really want to go back and continue mining. Hearing this, everyone laughed softly. Yingying, you really look like a little money grubber. Shangguan Yingying smiled. What's wrong with being a money grubber? This was a treasure. If I didn't have to worry about being discovered by others, I would have really wanted to stay there and mine. The space in my Qiankuan bag is getting more and more full, and I feel like I'm getting richer and richer. After we enter the mine today, let's find a secluded corner to cultivate. Since we have to mine at night, let's not waste time in the mine during the day. We can't let our strength fall because of this. Di Baichen's expression was serious. Ever since he met Nailan Fu and the others, he understood the strength level of the cultivators in the celestial realm.